Hello, hello, and welcome back on Bernama Today. You're still with me, Elane Noor Abdullah, and in the studio I have a very special guest. We're speaking to Leslie Tilak, and he's from Buzzword, and he'll be telling us a little bit about a little escapade to Sri Lanka. Hello and welcome.
Yes, well,
how are you doing this morning?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for coming to the show.
You're most welcome.
We heard that you're planning a little bit of a road trip to Sri Lanka.
Yeah, that's true.
Perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about what this is all about and how this started and why.
Sure. I'm actually a Malaysian, but my roots go back to Sri Lanka. My grandparents actually came from Sri Lanka. And I've been to Sri Lanka many times over the last couple of years. And I've actually done different modes of transport whilst traveling in Sri Lanka. And never on a motorbike.
Never on a motorbike. Do you ride then?
I don't ride, as a matter of fact, but
Okay.
I'm always a pillion. But I've loved to own a big bike and ride it, and especially in Sri Lanka, or even in Malaysia for the matter.
Okay.
One of my friends, his name is Mike, he's also part of the organizers for this trip, came up with this idea of why don't we do a bike ride, because there are a lot of Malaysians, bikers especially, who do a lot of rides to Thailand.
Road trips, convoys, yes.
They go to Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, and one of his friends actually did a 1-month tour which took them right through Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, China, ending up in Nepal and India as well. So that took them 1 month.
Wow.
So I said, wow, it's a long trip, you know. And so why don't we try a new destination? I mean, our Malaysian bikers have been almost all over the world.
Yes. We've heard of one that went all the way to London as well.
Yeah, just recently, and you know, the BMW Motorrad group they go to Germany almost every year, and travel throughout Europe. There are groups that go to South America, there are groups that go to South Africa, there are groups that go to Australia, you know, and all kinds of destinations, riding destinations. But
nowhere really to the Indian subcontinent.
Yeah, so you can even ride in India. I mean, on land, you can go via land. But Sri Lanka is an island, so you have a little problem. So, and because Sri Lanka was going through a war the last 30 years, the war ended in 2009, and things are opening up, you know. And we thought, why not ride in Sri Lanka? And it's a new destination for Malaysian riders. So the idea just popped up, and we said, okay, let's try. And we never knew it would take us a long time to plan this.
Does it take a year?
Yeah, it took us a year.
Wow,
actually.
This is a long pre-planning process.
There's a catch to this, because in Sri Lanka, we didn't know this either until we went and found out that there are no big bikes in Sri Lanka. The biggest bike is a 250cc or 300cc bike, and that's by law. Okay, that's by law. I guess it's basically it's twofold. One is because during the war it's basically a security issue. And two, because maybe the infrastructure for big bikes is not there.
Not available, right.
So, and it's dangerous. If you have a big bike and roads are not proper, you know, you will probably have a lot of accidents and falls and stuff like that. So, so what we did was, in December last month actually, 4 of us, 2 bikers, Mr. Asir and his wife, and myself and Mike, we took a recce to Sri Lanka, and we traveled 1,800 kilometers for the planned route that we planned to do in March. And the riders, those 2 riders, they're very experienced. They travel all over the world on their bikes, and they say Sri Lanka is a perfect destination, you know. And it's a new destination, it's an untapped destination, and so it's a first for Malaysians.
And those with big bikes will not have access to be able to enter Sri Lanka unless it's on a trip like this.
Exactly. So there's a thing that big bikers do. They have to buy a thing called a carnet de passage, which is basically you have to put a bank guarantee worth the value of your bike. So if your bike is going to cost you 140,000 ringgit, you probably put a bank guarantee worth equally as much, you know, and that's got a lot of money for Malaysians to park in the bank for a month or a year, or whatever it is.
Yes, because our bikes are not cheap.
Yeah, it's not cheap, you've got tax. So what we have done is we managed to work with the Sri Lankan government. We got a lot of support from the Ministry of Defence, the Sri Lankan Tourism Board, and they're willing to host us, basically, it's gone up to almost a government level invitation to come and visit Sri Lanka, okay? And so what we did was, when we came back, now we are just trying to market the idea to Malaysian bikers. I know time is short, but we've got good responses. A lot of people like the idea.
When is this happening?
It's happening from 21st of March to the 3rd of April.
Okay, how much time do you need to put in, before confirmation, in order for you to get all the necessary documentation in order?
Actually, we prefer it to be confirmed by end of Jan, but we'll take it a little further to maybe second week of Feb as well. We'll still be open. Right. I think the reason is because the cost is a little inhibiting at the moment, because it's about 13,500 ringgit. That's the reason being because we have to ship the bikes to Sri Lanka. And we have to cargo the bikes over, and that's costly. That's the biggest cost actually for us, and it's about 5,000 ringgit just to ship your bike over.
Yeah, I noticed here is about 5,003 for the shipping, and there's a 8,002
so the 8,200 inclusive of hotels and everything else.
And that's for 2 weeks. That's
2 weeks,
a long stay.
And you're staying in 3- and 4-star hotels. So,
right. So do you have a program plotted out already? You know,
yes, we did. So basically
going?
what we did on the recce was, other than just looking at the route, we checked out the hotels that we planned for the riders to stay at, you know, and excellent hotels, you know, in Sri Lanka. Slightly costly because of, you know, there's a little shortage of hotel rooms in Sri Lanka because of the war, and now there's a lot of development, but still there's a big shortage of rooms, so it's a little costly at this point in time. But hey, you're staying in 3- and 4-star hotels, and best of hospitality.
Well, it's called the price of experience.
Hey, you're the first Malaysian, if the Malaysian riders do go, I mean, you'll be the first Malaysian, you can proudly claim to be the first Malaysian to have ridden in Sri Lanka. You know? And
probably the first bunch of people to be able to bring big bikes in and
ride
on the roads.
And a convoy of bikes, if let's say there's even 10 to 20 bikes, the maximum will be 20. But if you're going to get 10 bikes, there'll be the first convoy in Sri Lanka of 10 bikes
Now I have to ask you about road conditions, because I'm a rider myself. So road conditions are always something that you are concerned with most places. But is this meant to be an adventure ride? So therefore you have to have adventure bikes only?
No. We are going to go on tarred roads. So basically it's all very good road. There's no off-roading basically at all in this all for 2 weeks. We're just going to take it a very slow and easy paced ride, because you can't ride very fast in Sri Lanka for one. It's like riding in Malaysia maybe 30 years ago, taking the old trunk roads.
Right.
But the only difference is in Sri Lanka there's a lot of dogs. A lot of stray dogs that are very brave, and they don't move at the bikes or cars or buses.
Right, because they've been kings for so long.
They really don't bother about traffic, really. You know. So if you're a biker,
what traffic I think they'll be asking you.
So if you're a biker, you know, you're traveling at a certain speed, even 100 kilometers an hour. You know, if you see a dog, you might think the dog is not moving. The guy gets up and starts running across the road. You might pose a danger, right? So that's the biggest danger, actually, according to the rider, Mr. Asir.
So what kind of pace are you guys looking at in terms of speeds?
So we're probably traveling at speeds of maximum at 120 maximum.
Right,
you know.
right. But the roads are able to accommodate that at least.
Yes, definitely.
Because bikes are so diverse in terms of their rideability. When it's the adventure bike, whether
the
it's
other thing is also because
the
journeys we're taking on a day-to-day basis, the maximum will be a 250 kilometer ride.
Right, okay.
On other average will be 120 to 150 kilometers.
And it says here that you'll have access to online communications as well, so you'll not be cut off from the world, yes?
Sri Lanka is not backward.
No.
Not that backward. It's quite advanced already.
Right.
So you get broadband facilities, you know. So it's easy. So if you want to call home, you want to check your Facebook, it's not an issue. Okay,
so food will be provided as well?
Yeah, so the cost will include a breakfast and dinner in the hotels. We won't be providing lunch, but we'll have lunch along the way. That's just like your warongs here. You get lots of warongs there as well.
Okay. So
fuel is easy. There's a lot of petrol stations, so we did that recce as well, so not an issue.
So all the in-between points, there's also pit stops that you'll be able to
so it's going to be an easy ride. It's not going to be a fast ride, point A, point B. You know, we give you 3 hours to get from point A to point B. We give you the GPS coordinates, you know, so you know exactly where you're headed.
There'll be a guide, yes, I assume?
There'll be a guide. We actually be escorted by the military and the police as well. So
you got military escort.
That's just to ensure that, you know, you don't get knocked down by a dog or a bus or a three-wheeler or whatever it is, you know.
What can people expect in terms of, you know, the route that you're taking? Is it scenic?
It's very scenic, because we are going to do mountainous regions. We're going to do flat lands. We're going to do coastal roads. We're going to do hot areas. There's one area in Jaffna which is actually the Sanggupiti Bridge, which is actually a new bridge that they just opened, I think, 2 years ago. So for a good stretch, maybe 3.5 kilometers, you're actually riding on a single road, and on both sides it's sea.
All right.
So it's quite a scenic ride.
So if there are interested people to take up this opportunity, how do they go about it?
Well, we've got a Facebook event page. It's called Discovering Sri Lanka.
Discovering Sri Lanka.
Friendship Ride 2014.
Discovering Sri Lanka Friendship Ride. Is there an email for them to be able to send information to if they wanted to, quickly say, I want to book a seat for myself?
They could email me,
Okay.
Leslie, Leslie, at buzzword.com.my.
There you go. It's LESLIE at buzzword.com.my. That is BUZZWORD.com.my. For more information, of course, you can go onto the Facebook page.
Pages,
Discovering
Sri Lanka.
Discovering Sri Lanka.
Friendship Ride.
Friendship Ride. There you
Because
go.
we also plan to get, when we went to Sri Lanka for the recce, we happened to meet Sri Lankans who are riders. And apparently there are now 5 to 7 riders who own big bikes.
Right.
And I presume they have some friends in high places and they own big bikes, so they have, I think, the BMWs and the Harleys, and they expressed their willingness to join us. So you probably ride with some Sri Lankan.
We have some video. We have a video that we're just showcasing. Perhaps you can explain this.
So
to us
basically,
a
this
little
is actually on the way you see a spice garden. So they explain the different spices. This is the Golden Temple. This is actually a UNESCO site.
Right.
There are 6 UNESCO heritage sites in Sri Lanka. We are going to visit 4 of those whilst there in the 2 weeks.
These are the accommodations that are being proposed?
Basically,
okay, very nice places.
And this is in Anuradhapura. This is the Bodhi tree, the holy Bodhi tree, the oldest tree in the world.
That's right, the Bodhi tree.
Yeah. Okay, and this is the biggest pagoda you'll find in Sri Lanka. That's been venerated by a lot of Buddhists.
It looks like it's going to be quite an experience, really.
It's
And
gonna be
especially
fun.
since you'll be on the bike, you'll be literally in the element. You'll be experiencing the country. It's different when you're on a bike as opposed to being in the car, you're enclosed.
Most time you go in a van or a car or a bus or a coach
It's
or whatever.
different.
So it's different. You're kind of
You're in
separated.
the element right now.
Right
You're
there.
in the elements.
So you can stop. You can have a cup of tea. You can. Ceylon tea is the best in the world. To claim. You can talk to the little kids that you meet along the way. You can chat with people. That's okay. You can take photographs. There's a lot of spots that are really beautiful, and you can just take pictures and selfies and whatever.
There you go. So take a few days off, experience culture like never before in Sri Lanka. An opportunity that is not to be missed.
We are sure that you will never regret this.
I'm sure. Now, thank you very much, Leslie, for all the information. Hopefully you'll get a few more takers and they'll be able to share their experiences once they come back.
Sure.
About, how exciting it was. Now, thank you for watching Bernama Today. As usual, we'll have the Malay news coming right up. Stay tuned. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
You too.